Welcome to another episode of Oz Talks Comics. I'm Oz and I like talking comics. Now, I mentioned in several videos um, ages ago, if you're friends with me on PlayStation or on Discord, you know my favorite game and my favorite hero of all time is the spectacular, the amazing, the ultimate, the sensational, the superior hero of them all, Spider-Man. I'm a big Spider-Man fan. Always been a Spider-Man fan. Um, it, and then going into loving something like Japanese tokusatsu, saying the Japanese Spider-Man show, which I talked about previously on the video. It'll be linked in the little eye right here, I guess. And my love for Kamen Rider. It made me question and start writing in my big black book of thoughts, or thoughts from the big black book. What is it with bugged themed superheroes that I like? And now you're probably thinking like Oz. Spiders aren't a bug, they're an arachnid. To which I say, you're right. Now, I don't know if you can see my screen in the back. You can't. It's too bright. I'm playing Fortnite, or I have Fortnite up just because I do. And I have the Iron Spider skin equipped. I have almost every Spider-Man skin in Fortnite. I wish they brought Kamen Rider skins into Fortnite, but they have some very Kamen Rider themed skins, kind of. They have a lot of Toku style skins. I mean, they did just bring in the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. No, I wanted this to be an Oz Talks Comics because we need to talk about Spider-Man. I've been needing to just talk Spider-Man. My favorite superhero of all time. Peter Parker, Miles Morales, Penny Parker, Ben Reilly. We're not talking Nicolas Cage as Spider Noir in the new Amazon show, because that's Ben Reilly, when Spider-Man Noir has always been a Peter Parker variant. We're also talking Miguel O'Hara, to which I have somewhere in my comic book collection a Spider-Man 2099 comic. I'll be right back. All right. So, I kid you not when I say I'm a fan of Spider-Man. I mean, I've got Spider-Man, and right now, since I've had to move in with my mother, I've had to sell a lot of my comics, so I don't have as big of a Spider-Man collection. But the ones that I do still have are Spider-Man 2099's Exodus run and the manga Spider-Man Fake Red. Now, you're probably sitting there like, yes, I get it, you're a Spider-Man fan. Let me pull up my second screen here. But you got to think about it, all right? Stan Lee wanted to create a hero who wasn't like any of the other heroes, right? Stan the Man Lee. Create a hero that wasn't like any of the other heroes. He wanted to create someone kind of relatable, right? He asked himself, what if the hero sucked at life? What if the hero was just a fly on the wall? And so he created the first concepts of Spider-Man. Marvel turned him down. He wanted to give up. His wife looked at him and said, no, make what you want to make. Then boom, Amazing Fantasy number 15. The first ever appearance of Spider-Man. And we've got this character, Peter Parker, who is orphaned, bullied, a science nerd. Gets bitten by a radioactive spider. Why? Because it's the 1960s, and at that time, OSHA didn't exist. And with the radioactive spider biting him, he gains the exuberant strength of a spider. Because, spiders have super strength and a spider sense. But he's got super strength. He's got wall crawling. He's got the spider sense. If you ever see Spider-Man fight, he has a moral code of, I'm not going to kill people. And it's not till later on when, in the Superior Spider-Man run, when Dr. Octavius switches minds with Peter Parker, that Otto realizes Peter's been holding back his punches. But we'll get to that in a later video. This video is a passion of mine, so forgive me. Spider-Man becomes Spider-Man not because of, moral codes or anything, not hope, not justice, but one of the hardest lines I think that ever gets reiterated in all of Spider-Man history, minus the new animated series Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, where Norman Osborn says it a little different. The quote is, "With great power comes great responsibility." Norman Osborn in the new Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man cartoon says, "With great power comes great respect," which makes sense for an evil billionaire. However, we look at it. It's not hope. It's not justice. Responsibility. Which is insane to think about because Peter Parker is like 15 at the time of the comics. And if you think, oh, well, it's just, he grows up later on. Yes, but when Spider-Man becomes Spider-Man, look at the difference between him and the other heroes. They're adults, they're confident, they're mentors, they're government contacts. Spider-Man, late to class, late on rent, late to saving the day, gets fired by J.K. Simmons or J. Jonah Jameson, the only man who profits off his trauma. Peter Parker is the only superhero who, other than the Green Goblin, his biggest villain is probably capitalism. Because even when he was working for the Daily Bugle, Spider-Man, Peter Parker, was getting paid merely anything. And now, tell me, how do you work for the Bugle for so long, get paid merely anything, and come in with these amazing pictures of Spider-Man, only for them to not even question how you got those pictures of Spider-Man? And Spider-Man's villains aren't evil because, haha, we like chaos. They're scientists who got screwed, the mentors who failed, the mentors who got banished, and people Peter Parker knows. Try saying that 3 times fast. People Peter Parker knows. Anyways, the Green Goblin. Harry Osborn's dead. Norman Osborn. Peter Parker's best friend is the best friend's dad is the Green Goblin, who then his best friend turns into the new Goblin. Now, when I say new Goblin, your mind immediately goes to James Franco in Spider-Man 3, or Harry Osborn in The Amazing Spider-Man 2. But it's just, there's multiple iterations of the Goblin. Dr. Octopus, Otto Octavius, his literal hero and mentor, the scientist that made Peter want to study science. The Venom symbiote, after it bonded with Peter, Venom's personality is based on Peter's own arrogance. These villains didn't want to rule the world. They wanted their validation, revenge, or their lives back. Which is why when Peter fights them, he doesn't fight them to end them. He fights them while holding back because he feels bad. Unless they go after his family or his friends. In which there's an entire panel where Peter, not Spider-Man, Peter Parker, went into the prison to go fill Kingpin's throat up with web fluid for killing Aunt May. And I will say kill, and I don't care if this video gets me demonetized or not. But the big secret of it all is Spider-Man never wins. Batman wins, Superman wins. Spider-Man, he survives. He can save the city and still lose his job, his girlfriend, his reputation, and his mental health. He sounds like the definition of a crappy country song. And I'm not a country music fan, but if you play country music and place it next to the life of Spider-Man, it's the same thing. And every single time, Peter Parker still shows up. Spider-Man still shows up. Mask on, quips and jokes ready, back hurt, his bills due. Now, I want to get into why everyone works as Spider-Man. Why the quote, anyone can wear the mask, is prominent. This whole thing isn't about a person. It's the reason why Miles works, why Gwen works, why I can't say the entire Spider-Verse with 2 comics, but the entire Spider-Verse works. Because Spider-Man isn't a person, it isn't a title, it's a situation. It's like the song by Chumbawamba, Tub Thumping. I get knocked down, but I get up again. Nothing's going to keep me down. Think about it like that, right? And then think, if you've ever tried your best, failed anyway, and still got up, congratulations. You can be Spider-Man. So, yeah, Spider-Man isn't about spiders. It's about the responsibility when no one's watching. Doing the right things when it costs you everything in your life. And still cracking jokes. Because even if you don't laugh and you cry and you have a mental breakdown, just know that there are people out there that care for you. There are, like Spider-Man has, other versions around you. However, I'm getting into too much of a tangent. Spider-Man is not about the spiders. Like I said at the beginning of the video, with great power comes great responsibility. So if you're still cracking those jokes and you don't laugh, but you're having a hard time and you're crying, remember, crying still doesn't stop the Green Goblin fighting and talking it out. There's an entire scene in the Spider-Man video game for the PS4. Or not even the PS4. Spider-Man 2 for the PS5. Spider-Man sits down and just talks with people in like several side missions. That's Spider-Man. Be that Spider-Man. Be hope. And remember, like I said, with great power comes great responsibility. Like Chumbawamba sang, I get knocked down, but I get up again. Nothing's going to keep me down. Keep swinging. Keep making it through. Keep cracking jokes. And I'll see you in the next video. This is Oz Talks Comics, where I'm Oz, and I like talking comics. Thank you for watching.